The day my grandfather's will was read was supposed to bring our family together. Instead, it became the day my parents destroyed my heart. Forever, the lawyer's office was silent as every family member waited for their name to be called. My older brother Daniel sat beside my father, wearing an expensive suit with a smile that said he had already won. My mother looked at me for only a second before turning away as if I did not belong there. I had spent the last 8 years taking care of my grandfather every morning before work, visited him every evening. I cooked for him. I stayed beside his hospital bed when everyone else was too busy. Yet as I looked around the room, I felt like a complete stranger. My father suddenly laughed and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Some people waste years hoping kindness will make them rich. It never does." My brother smiled while my aunt quietly shook her head. Nobody defended me. I lowered my eyes, pretending those words did not hurt. The lawyer finally opened the will and adjusted his glasses. The room became completely silent. He began reading. My grandfather leaves the family house to Daniel. My brother smiled proudly. My grandfather leaves his investment accounts to his son. My father leaned back with satisfaction. My grandfather leaves the lake cabin to his daughter. My aunt thanked the lawyer through tears. Then the lawyer paused and looked directly at me. My heart started racing. He quietly said, "Emma receives nothing." My mother smiled. My father laughed. My brother whispered, "I told you Grandpa knew who deserved everything." I felt every eye in the room staring at me. I stood up, trying to hide my tears, and slowly walked toward the door. Then the lawyer suddenly raised his voice. "Miss Emma, please do not leave." Everyone froze. He reached beneath the table and removed a sealed black envelope with my grandfather's signature across the front. He looked directly into my eyes and quietly said, "Your grandfather ordered me to give you this only after everyone believed you had received nothing." My father's smile disappeared. My brother leaned forward. My mother whispered, "What is that?" The lawyer slowly placed the envelope into my hands and said, "Whatever is inside this envelope will decide who truly owns your grandfather's fortune." Then every person in that room stood up at the same time because none of them expected what happened next. My hands were shaking as I stared at the black envelope. My grandfather had written my name across the front in bold handwriting. The room was so quiet that I could hear my own heartbeat. My father suddenly stood up and looked at the lawyer. "That envelope belongs to the family." The lawyer calmly replied, "It belongs only to Emma." Those were Mr. Harrison's final instructions. My brother quickly walked toward me, pretending to smile. "Let me see it first. We are family." After all, I slowly stepped back. Something inside me said not to trust anyone. My mother suddenly spoke. "For the first time, Emma, do not be selfish. We all deserve to know what your grandfather left behind." I looked into her eyes, hoping to see kindness. Instead, I saw fear, not curiosity, fear. I carefully opened the envelope. Inside was another smaller envelope, a silver key, and a folded letter. The lawyer quietly smiled. He already knew what was happening. My father became angry. "Open the letter now, Emma." I unfolded the paper with trembling hands. My grandfather's handwriting filled the page. "My dear Emma, if everyone in this room is watching you, then it means my plan worked. Do not tell them what this letter says until you follow my final instructions. Nobody in this room deserves the truth." Yet my heart started racing. I continued reading. "There is a private safety deposit box at Jefferson National Bank. The silver key opens it. Go there before sunset. Do not allow anyone to follow you. If someone tries to stop you, they are hiding something from you." I quietly folded the letter before anyone could read it. My father immediately asked, "What did it say?" I forced a smile. "Nothing important." My brother suddenly grabbed my wrist, trying to pull the paper away, but the lawyer stepped between us and firmly said, "The meeting is over. Emma is now free to leave." My father slammed his hand onto the table. "This is ridiculous. She received nothing. Now she is acting like she owns everything." The lawyer looked directly at him and calmly replied, "Maybe she does." Those 5 words changed every face in the room. My mother became pale. My brother stopped smiling. My father looked as though he had seen a ghost. I walked toward the door, holding the silver key tightly in my hand. Just as I reached my car, my phone vibrated. An unknown number had sent only one message: "Do not go to the bank. They are already waiting for you." I stared at the message for several seconds before locking my phone. The words would not leave my mind. "They are already waiting for you." I looked through the windshield, expecting to see someone watching me. The parking lot was almost empty, but a black SUV was parked near the exit. Its windows were too dark to see inside. I took a deep breath, started my car and drove away pretending I had not noticed it. Within seconds, the SUV pulled onto the road behind me. My heart started pounding. I made 3 different turns hoping it was only a coincidence, but every time I looked in the mirror, it was still there. My grandfather had been right. Someone was following me. Instead of driving to the bank, I turned into a crowded shopping center. The SUV stopped across the street, but nobody got out. I quickly called the lawyer. He answered on the first ring. Before I could speak, he quietly said, "Do not go home, Emma." I froze. How did you know I was thinking about going home? He lowered his voice. "Your grandfather paid me to protect you until today. Trust no one until you open the safety deposit box." Then the call suddenly disconnected. My phone immediately rang again. This time it was my mother. I answered without speaking. Her voice was shaking. "Emma, please come home. Your father is very upset. We only want to talk." I looked across the street at the black SUV and whispered, "If you only wanted to talk, then why is someone following me?" There was complete silence. Then she quietly said, "Emma, listen to me very carefully. Your father must never know what is inside that bank box." Before I could ask another question, the call ended. My breathing became heavy. I drove to Jefferson National Bank using side streets, hoping to lose the SUV. When I finally arrived, I rushed inside. The bank manager looked at the silver key and immediately became serious. He asked for my identification, then disappeared into a secure room. A few minutes later, he returned carrying a small black metal box. He placed it in front of me and quietly said, "Your grandfather instructed us to give this to you only today." My hands trembled as I unlocked it. Inside there was a flash drive, another sealed letter, and an old family photograph. I picked up the photograph and my heart nearly stopped. Someone had been cut out of the picture, and on the back, my grandfather had written, "The person I removed is the reason your parents fear this box." Just then, the bank light suddenly went out, and the emergency alarm began to sound. Someone had locked every entrance from the outside. The lights went out so suddenly that the entire bank fell into darkness. People began shouting. Someone dropped something made of glass. The emergency alarm echoed through the building. My heart was racing as I held the black metal box against my chest. The bank manager quickly grabbed a flashlight and whispered, "Emma, stay with me. Do not let anyone take that box." Before I could answer, 3 men wearing black jackets walked into the lobby through the emergency entrance. One of them looked directly at me and pointed, "There she is." My blood turned cold. The bank manager immediately pushed me toward a narrow hallway and quietly said, "Run, there is a private exit behind the vault." I did not hesitate. I ran as fast as I could. My footsteps echoed through the empty hallway while the voices behind me grew louder. "Stop her. Do not let her leave." I reached the heavy vault door and the manager unlocked it with shaking hands. Inside the vault, he pointed toward another steel door hidden behind hundreds of safety deposit boxes. He whispered, "Your grandfather planned this years ago." I opened the hidden door and found a narrow staircase leading underground. Before closing it, the manager looked into my eyes and said, "Whatever happens, never hand over that flash drive." I hurried down the stairs until I reached an old parking garage beneath the bank. My hands were shaking as I climbed into my car and locked every door. Only then did I finally look inside the black metal box again. I picked up the sealed letter and slowly opened it. "My dear Emma, if you are reading this, then they have already shown you how far they are willing to go. The flash drive contains proof that everything your parents own was never legally theirs. They stole it from someone who trusted them, but that is not the biggest secret." I felt my heartbeat getting faster. I continued reading. "The person removed from the old family photograph is your real mother. She never abandoned you. She was forced to disappear to keep you alive." My entire world stopped. I stared at the photograph again. Tears filled my eyes. The woman cut from the picture had my eyes, my smile, my face. Before I could think any further, my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered without speaking. A woman was crying on the other end of the call. Then I heard 6 words that completely shattered my world. "Emma, have been searching for you." My hands began shaking so badly that I almost dropped the phone. I could hear the woman crying on the other end, but neither of us spoke for several seconds. Finally, I whispered, "Who are you?" The woman struggled to breathe before quietly saying, "My name is Sarah. I am your mother." Tears instantly filled my eyes. "No, that is impossible. My mother is at home." Sarah softly replied, "The woman who raised you is not the woman who gave birth to you. Your grandfather promised me he would protect you until the truth could finally be revealed." I closed my eyes, trying to stop my heart from racing. Everything I believed about My life was falling apart, Sarah. Continued speaking 25 years ago, your father and mother stole more than money. They stole my daughter. My breathing became heavy. I wanted to hang up. I wanted to believe it was all a cruel joke, but then she quietly said, there is a birthmark behind your left shoulder shaped like a small crescent. Moon, only your grandfather and I knew about it. I froze. My entire body went numb. Nobody had ever seen that birthmark except my family. Tears rolled down my face. Without stopping, Sarah whispered, I have photographs, letters, and hospital records, proving everything, but someone is trying to stop you before we meet. Suddenly, I heard tires screeching behind my car. I looked into the mirror. The same black SUV had entered the underground garage. 3 men stepped out and immediately began searching between the parked cars. My heart nearly stopped. Sarah heard my breathing change. Emma, listen carefully. Leave the garage now. They cannot get that flash drive. If they destroy it, they destroy every piece of evidence. Before I could answer, one of the men spotted my car. He shouted, there she is. I immediately started the engine and slammed my foot on the accelerator. The SUV chased me out of the garage and onto the highway. Cars swerved out of the way as they followed only a few feet behind me. My phone was still connected. Sarah was crying. Please stay alive, Emma. Please do not let them take what your grandfather protected for 25 years. I gripped the steering wheel tighter than ever. Suddenly another car appeared beside me, a silver sedan. The driver lowered his window. It was the lawyer. He shouted, follow me. I know somewhere. They will never find us. I had only seconds to decide whether to trust the only man my grandfather believed in or risk losing everything forever. Without thinking any longer, I turned the steering wheel and followed the lawyer through a maze of empty streets. The black SUV stayed only a few cars behind us, refusing to stop. After nearly 20 minutes, the lawyer drove into an abandoned warehouse near the old harbor. Hot jumped out of his car and shouted, hurry, they are almost here. We rushed inside, and he pressed a hidden switch behind an old shelf. A heavy steel door slowly opened, revealing an underground elevator. Before the men outside could reach us, we stepped inside and the doors closed. The elevator descended deep beneath the warehouse until it stopped. Inside, a secret archive filled with old files, locked cabinets, family photographs, and security monitors. I looked around in complete shock. The lawyer quietly smiled. Your grandfather built this place more than 20 years ago. He knew one day you would need somewhere. Nobody could find you. I slowly removed the flash drive from my pocket and asked, what is really on this drive? The lawyer pointed toward an old computer already waiting on a wooden desk. I inserted the flash drive and the screen immediately came to life. My grandfather appeared sitting in the same underground room, looking directly into the camera. My dear Emma, if you are watching this, then you already know Sarah is your real mother. But there is one truth even more dangerous than anything you have learned so far. I felt my heart pounding harder with every word. Your parents never stole you because they wanted a daughter. They stole you because everything your real family owned legally belonged to you. From the day you were born, a trust worth hundreds of millions of dollars could only be claimed if you stayed alive and hidden. That is why I sacrificed everything to protect you. Tears filled my eyes as I realized my entire life had been built on lies. Suddenly, the video froze. Every light inside the archive went dark. Emergency lights flashed. Across the walls, a loud metal door slammed open. Somewhere above us, heavy footsteps echoed through the underground hallway. The lawyer's face instantly turned pale. He whispered, we have been found. Then a familiar voice laughed from the darkness. Emma, you trusted the wrong person again. I slowly turned toward the entrance and froze. Standing there with several armed men behind him was my father. The man I had called Dad for 25 years smiled coldly and quietly, said, give me the flash drive, or the next person to die will be Sarah. I slowly stepped in front of the lawyer before my father could move another inch. My hands were trembling, but I refused to let him see my fear. He smiled as if he already knew how everything would end. Emma, you have always been a good girl. Do not make this more difficult than it has to be. Give me the flash drive, and you can walk away. I looked straight into his eyes and quietly asked, did you ever love me? He remained silent for several seconds before answering. I fed you, I gave you a home. That should be enough. Tears filled my eyes because his answer told me everything he had never said. The words I had waited to hear. My grandfather's voice echoed inside my mind. Never confuse care with love. Suddenly the lawyer stepped beside me and whispered, there is another exit behind the archive shelves. We only need 30 seconds. Before we could move, my father raised his hand and the armed men surrounded us. One of them grabbed the lawyer, while another reached for the flash drive. I pulled it back just in time. Then the security monitors on the walls suddenly turned on by themselves. Every screen showed the same live video. Sarah was standing outside the warehouse surrounded by police officers. She looked directly into the camera and cried, "Emma, do not let him destroy the evidence. The police already know everything." My father's face instantly changed. For the first time I saw real fear. He shouted, "Turn those screens off." One of the armed men smashed a monitor, but the video continued playing on every other screen. Then another voice filled the archive. It was my grandfather, recorded years before. "If anyone besides Emma is watching this message, then you have already proven your guilt. Every copy of the evidence has already been sent to the authorities." My father froze. The lawyer smiled and quietly whispered he planned every move years before. Suddenly loud sirens echoed above us. The sound grew louder every second. My father realized there was almost no time left. He looked at me one final time and said, "If I lose everything, you lose your family forever." Then he lunged toward me, trying to grab the flash drive from my hand. My father lunged toward me so quickly that I barely had time to react. The flash drive slipped from my hand and slid across the concrete floor. Every person inside the archive rushed toward it. At the same moment, the lawyer pushed one of the armed men aside while I threw myself forward and grabbed the flash drive just before my father could reach it. He looked into my eyes with a cold smile and whispered, "You have no idea what you are protecting." I stood up, breathing heavily, and replied, "Then tell me the truth." For once he laughed quietly. "The truth is simple, Emma. Everything your grandfather built belonged to me long before you were born. Your real father was weak. Your real mother trusted the wrong people, and I simply took the life they could never protect before I could answer." Sarah suddenly ran into the archive with two detectives behind her. The moment our eyes met, time seemed to stop. Tears streamed down her face as she softly whispered, "Emma, my daughter." For the first time in my life, I saw my own face reflected in another person. I wanted to run into her arms, but my father pulled a pistol from his jacket. The entire room froze. He pointed it directly at Sarah and shouted, "Nobody moves. Give me the flash drive or she dies." My heart felt as if it would stop beating. Sarah looked at me through her tears and gently shook her head. "Do not give it to him. Your grandfather did not sacrifice his life for nothing." My father grew more desperate with every passing second. Outside, the sound of police sirens became louder. Officers surrounded the warehouse while helicopters circled above. Suddenly, the lawyer reached into his pocket and pressed a small remote. A hidden projector switched on behind my father, displaying hundreds of financial records, security videos, forged signatures, and one final recording. My father's own voice admitting every crime committed over the last 25 years. The detective stared at the screen in complete silence. My father's hands slowly began to shake. He realized there was no escape. Then the detective calmly stepped forward and said, "It is over. Put the weapon down." My father looked at me one last time with tears filling his eyes. Then he lowered the gun and whispered, "I spent 25 years trying to protect a lie, and today your grandfather finally won." The officers immediately placed him in handcuffs, but before they led him away, he quietly turned toward me and said, "There is still one truth your grandfather never told you." The officers led my father toward the exit, but before disappearing through the steel door, he stopped and slowly turned back. "There is still one truth your grandfather never told you." Those words echoed through the archive and every person became silent. I looked at him without blinking. "If there is another lie, I do not want to hear it." My father smiled. "Sadly, this is not a lie. Ask your grandfather's lawyer about the document he refused to show you." My eyes immediately moved toward the lawyer. His face lost all color. He lowered his head without saying a single word. My heart started racing again. The detective noticed his reaction and firmly asked, "Is he telling the truth?" The lawyer slowly reached into his briefcase and removed one final sealed envelope. I recognized my grandfather's handwriting immediately. "Emma, I wanted you to receive this only if everything else failed. I never thought this day would actually come." My hands trembled as I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter and another legal document. The first line made my knees weak. "My dearest Emma, if you are reading this, then you finally know who betrayed us, but there is one person you must never blame. Sarah never abandoned you. She begged me every day to bring you back. I was the one who refused because I believed hiding you was the only way to keep you alive. Tears rolled down my face as I looked at Sarah. She cried silently because she had carried that pain for 25 years. I continued reading. I have transferred every remaining asset, every company, every investment, and every piece of land into your name. But your greatest inheritance is not written on any legal document. It is the chance to choose a different life than the people who hurt you. Never let revenge become your future. Let truth become your legacy. I folded the letter against my chest, unable to stop crying. The detective quietly took the signed documents and smiled. Everything is over, Emma. Justice has finally won. My father lowered his head as the officers placed him into the police car outside. The first rays of sunrise filled the sky. Sarah gently held my hand for the first time in my life and whispered, "Can we finally go home?" My heart broke and healed. At the same moment, I smiled through my tears and softly answered, "Yes, Mom, let's go home together for the first time ever." Several months later, the courtroom was filled with reporters, lawyers, and family members waiting to hear the final decision. The judge carefully reviewed every document, every recording, and every piece of evidence hidden by my grandfather for more than 25 years. After nearly an hour, he looked directly at me and quietly said, "Miss Emma Harrison, this court recognizes you as the sole legal heir to the Harrison family estate. Every company, every property, every investment, and every trust legally belongs to you from today. Everything stolen from your family is officially returned." Tears rolled down my face as the entire courtroom became silent. My father closed his eyes, knowing he had lost everything. Sarah reached for my hand and smiled through her tears. The lawyer slowly walked toward me and handed me the last item my grandfather had left behind. It was his old pocket watch. On the back he had engraved only one sentence: "The greatest inheritance is not wealth, it is the truth." I held the watch tightly against my heart, remembering every painful moment that had led me here. I realized my grandfather had never been protecting money. He had been protecting me. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded us, asking if I wanted revenge against the people who had destroyed my life. I smiled gently and gave only one answer. My grandfather taught me that revenge ends a story, but forgiveness begins a new one. I choose the future, not the past. Months later, I restored my grandfather's company and turned part of its profits into a foundation that helped children who had lost their families and young people who had been betrayed by those they trusted. Most of all, I never wanted another child to grow up believing they were unwanted. One quiet evening, Sarah and I stood together beside my grandfather's grave. The sun was setting across the hills as I placed fresh white roses beside his headstone. I held his pocket watch one final time and whispered, "Grandpa, everyone believed you left me nothing, but you gave me the greatest gift anyone could ever receive. You gave me the truth. You gave me my real family, and you gave me a life that nobody could ever steal again." A gentle breeze moved through the trees as if he had heard every word. Sarah wrapped her arm around my shoulder, and together we walked away smiling because for the first time in 25 years our family was finally free. And I understood that the richest people are not those who inherit the most money. They are the ones who inherit love, truth, and the courage to protect both forever.